Protein is not only essential, it's the most satiating macronutrient, which means eating a lot of protein can help you feel full on fewer calories. Plus, it can help in maintaining or even increasing metabolism. I'll tell you how later. But listen, it's important to choose protein sources wisely because some food may contain protein that our body doesn't even end up using. Let's look at the 3 best sources of protein. Hi, I'm Ingun, a Norwegian Viking. I'm here every week to share the no BS truth about weight loss, fitness, and healthy lifestyle. It's based on science, yet it's made super simple. Now, when it comes to metabolism, one way protein can help is to help maintain or even build muscle mass. Well, if you want to build muscle mass, you might have to do some strength training, but even if you don't, eating enough protein can help maintain the muscles that you already have. And muscles help keep our metabolism up. And yes, muscles are great also for women, and you don't need to look like a bodybuilder to have great muscles. Now, how do we know if a food is a great source of protein? Well, here are my 3 criteria. 1, the protein should be easily digested and absorbed. 2, it should contain amino acids in the ratios that we use. Amino acids are the building blocks of protein, and we'll get back to this shortly. 3, the food should be protein dense, meaning we shouldn't have to eat a ton of calories, especially empty calories, in order to get a good amount of protein. Now, before we get to the 3 best sources of protein, let me talk about the difference between protein from plant foods and protein from animal foods, because spoiler alert, the 3 best sources are basically everything within one of these categories. Here's the thing, some plant foods contain substances that can inhibit our absorption of protein from that food. For example, legumes, which are some of the more protein-dense plant foods out there, contain something called trypsin inhibitors, which strongly inhibits the activity of enzymes that break down protein in our digestive tract so that we can actually absorb them. Due to trypsin inhibitors, some of the protein in that food may simply not be absorbed. And then you have amino acid ratios. I talked about this in my video about legumes, so I think it's worth mentioning here as well because it's very important when choosing protein sources. Think of a protein as a house, and the building blocks of the house is the amino acids, like the foundation, the door, the windows, the wood panels, the roof. If we don't have enough of certain building blocks, the house doesn't get finished. It's an incomplete house. And we don't have use for an incomplete house, so we simply tear it all down and discard of the leftovers. This is kind of what happens when we consume foods that don't contain amino acids in the ratios that we need. Some proteins will not become complete, so we simply discard of the rest of those amino acids, the leftover amino acids. Now listen, plant foods don't contain amino acids in the ratios that we need, but animal foods do. By the way, if you enjoy this kind of no BS, give it to you straight kind of videos on weight loss, fitness, and healthy lifestyle, make sure to click that subscribe button and turn on notifications. And also remember to follow me on Instagram at Viking Ingun. Now, the 3rd criteria was protein density, and the most protein dense foods are animal foods like meat and seafood. The leaner the cut, the leaner the food, the more protein dense. Some plant foods are said to be great sources of protein, however, they're not as protein dense as animal foods. And on top of that, as we've seen, some of the protein may simply not be absorbed, and even if it is, some of the amino acids may simply be discarded because of the wrong amino acid ratio. As I like to say, nutrients mean nothing to us if we can't digest, absorb, and make use of them. So on top of having lower amounts of protein, some of the protein in plants is basically useless to us. Now, let's look at the 3 best sources of protein. Well, I've kind of spoiled the reveal, I guess. Number 1, meat. The protein from meat is highly digestible and absorbed. The amino acids are in the correct ratio, and well, when it comes to protein density, the leaner the cut, the more protein dense, as we've already discussed. Like for instance, anywhere from chicken breast to the leanest cuts of beef, pork, etc. I'm not saying that we should only be eating lean cuts though, I'm saying they're more protein dense. But fat is important as well, especially for fat soluble vitamins. And fat also adds a very nice flavor. Number 2, seafood. Shrimp, tuna, halibut, tilapia, etc. Again, the leaner, the more protein dense. Number 3 is eggs. Now, the thing to note about eggs is that they're actually quite high in fat. So it's not as protein dense as some of the other foods that we've talked about. The fats are mainly in the yolk, and the egg whites are very high in protein, which is why a lot of people wanting to build muscles eat a lot of egg whites. But I would not ditch the yolk, because that's the most nutritious part. It's where most of the micronutrients, vitamins and minerals are. And as you may have heard many times before, eggs are some of the most complete sources of nutrition. It can even create a whole bird. So it's a great way to eat both protein and a lot of other nutrients as well. So protein is very satiating, even to the point where it may determine how much we eat. Meaning, if you don't eat enough protein, you may end up overeating on calories. And protein helps keep or even increase our muscle mass, which is very important for our metabolism. So when it comes to weight loss, eating lots of protein can be very helpful, though you got to choose your protein sources wisely. Now, if you haven't already done so, make sure you download my free guide, Hack Your Way Out of 3 Weight Loss Mistakes Almost Everyone Makes. Many of the things that we're told to do when it comes to weight loss are mistakes, like counting calories, for instance. In the guide, I go through 3 very common mistakes and how to hack your way out of them. You may download this free guide at vikingingun.com right now. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please remember to give it a thumbs up, a heart or like, depending on where you're watching from, and I'll see you in the next video.